Hi, everybody, and you're very welcome to the PIC preliminary round number 2 for Process Innovation Challenge number 18. Try saying that with your mouth full. You're very welcome. I'm Dave Ruan, and both myself and Marina will be your hosts. Hi, Marina.
Hello, Dave. Nice to be here again for the second day.
Yeah.
It's going to be even more exciting. We have more participants.
Well, we're going to go faster. Let's put it that way. So, no, there's some great innovations coming your way. So, quick rules update. So, this is where innovators get to pitch for 3 minutes. It's a hard stop. 3 slides and 3 dragons who are here. Dragons, say hi. Johan, Christina, is Julia here?
Sure,
I
here.
am.
Happy to be here.
Here's the dragon.
Hi,
So they'll be
everyone.
listening intently. Thanks, dragons.
Everyone.
And there's Julia. So after each pitch, the dragons will be able to ask a quick question. Keep it short and short answer, innovators, please. We'll ask you to join the stage in order, and you'll see the order in a second. Firstly, I just want to tell you who the team is. I'm Dave Ruan. We've heard from Marina and our dragons. We're the PIC team for this year, and we're going to get started in this order. So Henrique is going to join us first, and we're going to do a quick swap and get you going, Henrique. Let's say quick, was slightly slower than I expected. Over to you.
Okay. All right. So we start from the second slide, right? That counts. Okay. Okay. So my name is Henrique Cabral, CTO at PureWorks, and we are here to talk about free flow. So the evolution of translation technology has always been an interesting journey of trade-offs. In the beginning, we had translators working with documents, with complete text. They had more freedom, but more holistic approach to translator, but we lacked consistency, quality control, and workflow management. So when we introduced segmentation, there was a significant advancement. We broke content in small units, and we could leverage memory matching, glossary, quality assurance, and this workflow management. But this segmentation paradigm, while super effective for technical content, requires trade-offs that often imprison creative expression. So when we examine that process and those processes for social media campaigns, books, and marketing materials, we observe that segmentation forces a choice between preserving the structure of documents and applying cultural significance, resonance. So the content that relies on a narrative punch that rests on wordplay and subtle cultural references becomes trapped in this environment. So with the advancements of machine learning, AI, LLMs that we've been seeing, we propose a new thing. So the next slide, please, with the video. So we are talking about the free flow translation paradigm that eliminates the boundaries of the segmentation. So rather than processing documents into those smaller units, we preserve the bulk of the structure and the paragraphs and content so that we enable a better representation, more compatible with LLMs. So the text is vectorized, and we use the same embeddings that we use in LLMs, and we index that content in engines like Elasticsearch and MCP servers, and we create knowledge bases. So those complex relationships between previous translations, concepts, terminology, preferences, stylistic patterns are preserved in that knowledge base rather than only translation memories. So when you're working with content, the system moves beyond simple segment matching. It goes with context-aware understanding, purpose, tone, and cultural dimensions. So instead of focusing on an infinite number of knowledge, we try to really nail the perfect context window. So this approach doesn't abandon the tools and techniques that we've developed. We preserve the critical capabilities like terminology management, quality verification, process controls, but we apply that to new technologies. So we are removing the artificial constraints, preserving the reuse of past text in the new paradigm that we are proposing. So next slide, please. So the implication of this is that we observe an 80% greater satisfaction on test audiences that we've talked to, focused on creative content and marketing content. This approach opens the translation workflow for non-expert users, which is very important. Marketing teams, content creators, and subject matter experts directly engage in the localization process. So we
Time.
don't need an engineering to operate a CAD tool. So this is the end of the source. We start from the target now. That's what we are proposing.
Thank you very much, Enrique. We'll have to stop you there.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Quick question from Dragons.
I mean, if this works, it's a disruption. So how can you see that it will work in reality with huge amount of text?
Well, I think the idea is that we put a lot of effort, like I briefly spoke here, in preserving the structure of documents. Like you have a Word document with a certain formatting, but 99% of what you need in that document is the content itself, right? So we are already using this approach of knowledge base to translate the full document rather than segments. And the experience, like I said, that briefly spoke now in the end, is that instead of starting from source, the translators, proofreaders, reviewers, they will start from the target. So the content, we are trying to reproduce the original translation approach, full text, document, holistic creativity, but with the technology applied. So the glossary, the term-based management, will all be part of a scale. We have a system, a TMS, that will allow you to create big projects with that approach.
Thank you, Enrique. I have to stop you here. Today
Yeah.
we have to be really strict on time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I see, thank you very much. I don't know why I see a black screen, Dave, but is there something wrong with the slides, or is it just me seeing a black screen? Because we have to call our next contestants to the stage, and that is Bruno from Blackbird, who is gonna talk about not AI.
Hi, Marina. Hi, Dragons. I also see the black screen.
So
Yeah,
that
but
makes
it's
it more interesting for you. You
Right.
gotta give your
Black
pitch
screen.
without slides.
No pressure, Bruno.
Yes, when we
Give
know
us
you
one.
can do it.
Would you
Yeah,
like me to do it without the slides?
You can choose the tariff of dive you wish. Let me just get you on track here, Bruno. Thanks for your patience.
Great. You can start on the first slide.
Thanks, Bruno. Over to you.
All right. Well, we all know here that the XLIF standard is great, right? It's great because it brings content and metadata together in a structured, interoperable format that supports the full complexity of modern localization workflows. Most importantly, XLIF supports context. It preserves the structural relationships, source information, and metadata that help translators and machines alike make better, more accurate decisions. But Houston, we have a problem. XLIF is a blind spot for several key categories of technology, including content management systems, large language models, memoQ, natural language processing, and social media platforms. Translation management systems support XLIF, but the fragmentation is great. Nearly everyone supports proprietary versions based on the older XLIF specification. Next slide, please. At Blackbird, ensuring seamless interoperability is at the core of our content bypass and workflow orchestration capabilities. To eliminate friction and complexity, we have been introducing dynamic adaptive interoperability, an intelligent system that automatically converts and optimizes file formats based on the needs of the workflow and target applications. Let's look at the details. First, we added XLIF 2 capabilities to content management systems, all large language models, MT and memoQ apps. Then Blackbird can optimize for the right XLIF version. If a target system already supports XLIF 2, like all the LLM apps on Blackbird, we automatically convert the source content, let's say from a CMS, to XLIF 2. But when an application requires proprietary formats like SDL XLIF or MXLIF or an earlier version of XLIF, Blackbird seamlessly converts files to match their specifications. If a target system cannot support XLIF in any form, Blackbird can intelligently select the next best format, such as HTML or Markdown. For workflows that involve natural language processing or content repurposing, Blackbird can automatically transform files into structured text formats. Next slide, please. If any format is poised to become the backbone of language operations with LLMs. It's XLIF too. I'm sure we agree about that. But the lack of XLIF support and fragmentation across versions leads to fewer opportunities for automation and significant engineering overhead and cost. With our capability, users no longer need to be expert solution architects, manually track interoperability constraints, or rely on third-party conversion frameworks like Okapi, because Blackbird dynamically adapts content formats to ensure compatibility without additional tools or manual interventions. Seamless automated XLIF conversion for frictionless content exchange. Our innovation is a foundational enabler for many of today's ambitions in our industry and in this pick round today. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruno. Nicely done. Dragons, quick question.
Yes, me. What's next?
Well, what's next? What I presented here, about 80% is already in production, used by around 100 customers. So we want to see further hardening, but we have about 10-15% that's still in QA stage. So we are eager to do the final rounds of testing to be ready for Malmö in June. So we want to work very closely with XLIF committee and people working on this wonderful standard and really build the bridges between all the key technologies and this standard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. That's so interesting and so important. I'm really happy that you're looking into that. And with that, let me call to the stage Mirko Lorenz from Deutsche Welle with another very interesting pitch about how to introduce quality improvement features for transcriptions and translation. Mirko, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Perugia in Italy, from the International Journalism Festival where I'm currently at. This is my community coming together every year in spring. So let's talk about PlainX and start with a question. We can look at the next chart already. So how do you normalize AI in an organization that publishes content in 32 languages around the world, where of course all these translation adaptation work is a huge workload? So that's what PlainX is about. It's developed out of EU research projects over the past 6 years. It's a combination of a European SME, Priberam, which has a know-how in coding, and Deutsche Welle, which has the needs, and we are cooperating and working together. It's a combination tool, a 4-in-1 tool that has full workflows and strong collaboration tools. And that is really important because we are not losing work that is done once. So if, say, a Spanish translation should be translated into Chinese in 3 months, where would you find that in traditional systems? We have 1,400 editors onboarded. And what is really important and what makes a difference, we have 4 guiding principles. First, we are engine agnostic. We connect to any engine we can for transcription and translation. We have templates for subtitling, and we are experimenting and doubling with voiceover. It's fully functional. We just introduced 11 labs, of course, like everyone else, but it is experimental. So the second thing is the workflow and the ease of use. Human in the loop is super important to us. We would not accept full automatic publication without certain quality standards. Say if we start from a manuscript, it's okay. But otherwise, we want to maintain a certain quality of language, because if you have no control and given the control to AI, you have lost, what you wanted to tell. The audiences will not believe you around the world. So we can go to the next chart. So this is just a glimpse of the most recent version. It's version 13, rolled out successfully in April. And what I would claim is innovation is putting things into practice. So all of that might not be like a game changer to you, but as a combination, as a thoughtful implementation to a large 3,000 people, global publishing, multi-language organization, it's interesting. It's part of the normalization of AI. And what we are after is a good way to normalize it, because there is a human element in there. If we don't care about the content that we're working with, nobody else will. I repeat that. So we can go to the next one, because that's important. This just gives you an idea of what we integrated so far. So we have transcription engines. If there's a problem, say Whisper from OpenAI is not GDPR compliant, we install a local version in Portugal so that we can use it. So we overcame a lot of these problems, like being GDPR compliant, and that is really important. So translation engines, you see, we are now in the process of actual benchmarking for that. And with that, although it's very, very short, I'm already through with my pitch.
Brilliant. Mirko, a good time. Thank you very much. And just a note to innovators, keep an eye on Marina. She's going to be flashing those up. Mirko, you're right on time, so nicely done. Dragons, quick question.
I do have one. Thanks a lot for this. So I was wondering, what is the benefit of having this instead of a conventional TMS, for example, that has some of this function integrated already?
Yes, I know. For example, Adobe Premiere has language translation, but we are much more flexible and we are much more in control. So the idea is that we have it connected to Open Media, which is our cloud-based media management of choice. We loop it out and loop it back in. So we have now a panel, say in experimental in Adobe Premiere, where the editor doesn't need to go into PlayNX, but simply pulls it out. And something else which normal CMS don't provide is this collaboration task. So one file is growing over time. So you will see one file, say an English documentary that has so and so many transcriptions, quality controls already. So you don't have to do that again. And on that basis, you can move to the next language. And that is really a game changer together with the fast transcription.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mirko. Thanks a lot. So now let's move on to the next topic, and let me invite to the stage Jose Uribe with beautiful, colorful slides, and he's going to talk about a more granular approach to quality estimation and auto post-editing. Jose.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited about this opportunity to share about our beloved Craig. And I want to start with a question is, have you ever experienced challenges or difficulties when trying to achieve reliable quality estimation or automatic post-editing? Next slide, please. Well, this is quite normal, and the reason is there is no universal definition of quality. Every use case has a very specific, unique definition of quality. And this image we have here kind of reflects the feeling we experienced a couple of years back when we started experimenting with quality estimation, realizing that one size fits none, realizing that data or requirements from different use cases were taking or requiring data that normally was contradicting, like DNTs do not translate, that for one use case were mandatory, for the other case were contradicting. So please, next slide. So with this challenge in mind, we started researching and developing a solution that nowadays we call Craig, that basically combines very in-depth data analytics and multiple layers of translation technology. So it basically, for each use case, allows higher control over the output of the translation or the quality estimation, and also allows for each separate track a continuous improvement of over time. So it's, let's say, a virtuous circle where we are leveraging, of course, generative AI for automatic post-editing and quality estimation, but we are offloading to other translation technologies, other challenges that normally can be tricky for large language models, while other solutions like fixing common errors like apostrophes, like punctuation errors with scripts and CAD tools can be much more efficient. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, what Craig consists of is a prompt management system, a robust prompt management system with strong RAG capabilities, seamlessly integrated into the CAD tool, so that we get granular control, selecting the right prompt for the right use case, and this combined with very specific and very detailed data analytics that can go from the segment level to the project level, to the language level, to the use case level, and we are monitoring among different variables, untouched words, savings potential by correctly approved words when compared with the gold standard of the post editors, the risk and as in incorrectly approved words, and this is unleashing good gains in terms of productivity in costs and time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose. Dragons, quick question.
I have one actually. I have several, but I will only say one. So how do you make sure that it's really tailored to every single content? Is it with the prompts or with the model or with a combination of everything?
So it's a combination of having not only one prompt per use case. So we have a library of prompts for each use case, and we are using snippets to let's say to standardize prompts, the parts of the prompts that are more standardizable. And at the same time, we are using RAG specific to the use cases, and in the workflows, we are including giving to project managers capabilities to go and feed the RAG on the project level. So this is basically we study each case and we leverage either scripts, either prompt management, either RAG management to achieve the best for each use case.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Christina and Jose. And just a quick note, Dragons, if you do have extra questions, feel free to ask them in the chat to the innovators, and innovators, if you don't mind answering, or you can just ignore the chat message. You know, we have your back on that. Don't worry. So just a way for us to have just one quick question. So thanks, Christina, for that. Great. Marina, who's up next?
Yeah, so next we have Gábor from memoQ, but it's not the same Gábor from memoQ that we had yesterday. It's another, sorry, not memoQ, it's another Gábor from memoQ, who's gonna talk this time about context for Gen AI-based machine translation. Welcome, Gábor from memoQ, number 2.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Welcome from Budapest. Welcome, or greetings from Budapest. Welcome, everybody. And I will talk about in this speech about dynamic context framework. Next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. Okay, so we heard in the previous presentation how extremely important context is. And with the large language models, there's a trend that we are moving away from segment-based translation into a wider contextual translation, which means that the content processed by the large language model is not only segment, it can be any kind of unit. But in order to tackle this challenge, and this is what we try to address with the dynamic context framework to handle this challenge, because there are some problems which have to be solved. One problem is with the diversity in the large language models. Each large language model has slightly different characteristic. The contents might be different in the prompt. I mean, the optimal content might be different. The context window is different. So the volume you can process with the large language model is different. And even the same version of the same model might require different content and different prompting. So this is one complexity in the story, that you have a huge diversity in the large language models you all have to serve, or many of you have to serve. The other is the format diversity, or the content diversity. If you look at Word documents, the right context might be, or the optimal context might be a paragraph, or it might be even a chapter or the complete document. Again, this is depending on the size, depending on the LLM. Some LLMs might consume the complete document if it's not too large, but you have to be able to identify what is the optimal size you can provide to the LLM. Then again, if you speak about Excel, then Excel is not for Excel or for PowerPoint. A paragraph is not the ideal context content, because a paragraph in a PowerPoint is only one segment, for example. So in that format, the optimal content would be the complete slide or the complete worksheet or a row, etc., etc. If you speak about XML, then, for example, then the boundaries are even more dynamic, because XML can have any kind of formats, and you may have additional information embedded. For example, the tag ID, which are very, very valuable information, and which what has to be taken into account. And then last, we have the language diversity, which again has an impact on the prompts, because the token size is different from language to language. So you have to take care not to exceed the context window. So next slide, please. And this is basically what we are targeting with our dynamic context framework components. We have a component which is called context augmenter, which helps to create the right prompt. We have the GenAI RAG, which helps to create the right reference information. Then we have that is helping assembling this, and finally we have the proxy, which is routing the content to the right LLM. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Gabor. Question, quick one from Dragons.
Gabor, what's the biggest challenge you've encountered with the context augmenter?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is to find the right, so to always dynamically change the right context, the right content information to the root and route it to the right large language model, because it's, as I mentioned, this is the biggest challenge. How to stay on segment level, because segment is still required. Because just as an example, all the translation memories are built up on segments, so you cannot throw away the segment simply and move away to paragraph units. So you need still the segments, but somehow you have to recreate the context information, and this is again depending on the format, on the language, etc. So this is basically the challenge behind it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love it how the topic of context is becoming more and more prominent in the PIC. It's a timeless topic, really. And now we are moving to another timeless thing. We have Sintija Kivlina from North Security talking about timeless guidelines with modern impact.
Nice
Sintija,
segue.
the floor is yours.
Okay, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm Sintija Kivlina, and I'm from North Security. So presenting you timeless guidelines, modern impact, and innovations in localization practices. So we can move forward to slide 1. And let's start with a little fun. Imagine you're a marketer launching an eSIM product, and what a better way to connect with global travelers than the classic baguette, Eiffel Tower vibe, right? It's a stereotype, yes, but in the world of eSIMs, travelers looking for connectivity expect some playful, familiar touchpoints. And now take the same symbol, a baguette, and throw it on a VPN product. It simply doesn't work. A VPN is all about privacy, local trust, and cybersecurity. That playful stereotype doesn't speak to end user values. It's like trying to sell a French bakery to a market that values security. The challenge is how to strike the perfect balance by creating localization guidelines that empower us to embrace cultural cues without losing connection with our audience. Localization guidelines, they aren't just for localization teams. They are essential for everyone. Marketing, product, support, and design incorporates these resources into their workflows, tools, and platforms to ensure consistent messaging across all languages and channels. For example, with a SIM product, the phrase always connected is used consistently across all platforms and languages, rather than vague terms like wireless, for example. This ensures clarity and a unified brand voice across all markets. By aligning these guidelines, teams maintain consistency and messaging and content. It's everyone's responsibility to spot and address inconsistencies, creating a collaborative approach to brand integrity. The result? Stronger communication and consistent brand messaging, no matter the market. And we go to the next slide. And let's imagine using basketball-themed content for a VPN marketing in Spanish-Mexican market. It might lead to modest 5% increase in engagement, but it wouldn't fully resonate with the local audience. If we switch to football assets, focusing on local teams and culture, we could see 30% more engagement and 15% boost in conversions. This highlights how tailoring content to local preferences can create much stronger connection with the brand. So effective localization goes beyond translation. It's about cultural relevance, and when scaled across markets, this approach could drive better engagement and conversions. So that's it from me by now. Thank you for your attention. Questions?
Thank you very much, and bang on time. I was trying to think of a football joke, but you know, I couldn't think of a real one. Sorry for Real Madrid fans. That's as bad as it gets here. Well done. Quick question from the Dragons.
Thank you for the presentation. How are the guidelines implemented? Are they digitalized, systematized in some way so that that can streamline the workflow?
Yeah, that's a great question, because in every team, it starts from a content manager, let's say, to write those down in a simplest way in a document. Later on, it's a matter of technology, what different teams are using. So it could be implemented in various ways. It could be implemented in a binder, let's say, in an asset structured system, when we group different assets which are culturally appropriate for, let's say, Spanish market, French market. So that is a visual part of the implementation. Then the textual part is all the relevant terms that has been, of course, translated and appropriate for different locales, and they are fed into different CAT tools and other platforms that are used by specific teams.
Thank you, Sintija. Thank you very much for the question, Johan. And now let's move on further to our next contestant. My namesake, Marina, but this is Marina Sánchez Torrón from Smartling, who is going to talk about automated MQM labeling for auto LQA. Marina.
Thank you, Marina. Hi, everyone. I'm going to present some of the work on auto LQA that we're doing at Smartling. You can move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so current LLM-based auto LQA solutions suffer from several limitations that have an impact on their applications and maintenance at scale. I listed 3 here. First, and possibly the biggest one, is the constant effort of prompt evaluation and maintenance across different content types, languages, LLMs, or even LLM updates. Second, they usually present false positives and list errors that have an impact on the reliability. And third, when they get an error right, sometimes they also present incorrect severity classifications, leading to inaccurate LQM scores. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. So our proposed approach addresses these challenges through automated prompt optimization using Stanford NLP's DSPy framework, and by the addition of applicable linguistic resources and context. The key innovation here is the memoQ V2 optimizer that automatically comes up with and refines prompts based on your defined optimization metric without any manual intervention at all. You just have to provide previous examples of annotations. So this creates a self-improving solution that eliminates the need for manual prompt engineering and scales across languages and content types, and is also LLM agnostic. In addition, our system evaluates translation with context awareness and linguistic resources. So it looks at each segment alongside a content window, applicable glossaries, and style guide rules extracted via regex and LLMs. Next slide, please. So here are some results. So using Sonnet 3.7 with automatic prompt optimization via DSPy, we achieved 71% accuracy detecting errors in a 55-sentence document that was translated into Czech, Spanish, German, and Japanese. So this represents a 10.6 percentage point improvement versus the non-optimized or baseline prompt. We also optimized separately for severity assignment and got a bit over 38 percentage point increase in severity classification accuracy to almost 54%. So in all the scenarios here, we didn't have to come up with a single prompt ourselves. We didn't have to retrieve examples. We left that to DSPy. And we can see that with the MVPro V2 optimizer, it improved the kind of baseline performance of a strong foundation model. A note here is we did not attempt to predict error categories, since under normal circumstances, these do not affect MQM scores. And finally, this solution is currently in the experimental research phase, but we've tested it with various LLMs and we're getting promising results. Thank you.
Very good. Gracia, Marina. Questions, Dragons, quick one?
What's in the context window? What sort of context?
It's like the previous and following segments that you send for evaluation.
So it checks against visual context?
So instead of sending segments one by one, we send it with the previous and following sentences. So the system has a better idea, for example, if a verb should be translated into infinitive or imperative.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Marina. This is a topic very close to my heart as well, so it was really interesting to listen to that. And moving on to more quality evaluation, we have Maya here. I'm happy you made it. So let me give the stage to Maya. I am not even gonna try to pronounce the surname from Transifex to talk about quality evaluation for semantically aware localization.
Hi everyone, yes, I'm Toutountzi. I'm with Transifex, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you the Translation Quality Index, or as we call it, TQI, which is an AI-driven quality evaluation metric already on production. We all know how important quality is for our customers and eventually the success of their businesses. So TQI provides a consistent, objective, and scalable way to measure translation quality, helping customers feel confident, optimize workflows, and reduce time to market and cost. With TQI, customers can ensure that they have translation of good quality, they can evaluate their translators, or they can use it to adapt their workflow and decide whether the translation needs a review or if it's production ready. So now let's see why TQI is innovative. Let's move on to the next slide. So TQI consists of multiple components. The first one is translation consistency. We compare the translation in question with other coming from different sources, including LLMs. And depending on the findings, we either build or we decrease our confidence about that translation and the complexity of the phrase in general. Of course, we evaluate the structural integrity, which means grammar checks, typos, maybe there's a placeholder missing, or whether the HTML is broken. But the most crucial feature of TQI is that we use AI to evaluate the semantic quality. And this is one of the things that differentiates us, is that we evaluate the translation formality, cultural adherence, inclusivity, adherence to the customer style guide, which is also taken into consideration, and many more parameters we find in the MQM or multidimensional quality metrics. And another critical element of TQI is that it adapts based on user feedback. So the user, the time they see the TQI, they can give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, and we learn from it. So the next time we have even more accurate score. Here you can see an example of a translation with the scoring, and we also give suggestions on how to improve the findings we had and the justification. So let's go to the next slide. So what we do compared to the alternatives, what sets us apart is our semantic quality check, the fact that TQI adapts based on feedback, and of course our solution being AI-driven and fully automated. It's objective, it's consistent, it's real time, and it's scalable. So let's move on to the next slide. What is the impact we've seen from our customers that have been using it? We've seen that they have up to 60% faster turnarounds by skipping reviews for specific translations and by giving TQI as a tool to their translators and reviewers so that they can boost their productivity. Up to 40% cost reduction on reviews. Better quality as we can identify up to 40% more issues, and finally 30% faster review tasks by translators by using TQI as a guide while they're reviewing them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya. And you're bang on time, by the way. Questions for Maya Dragons? One question.
Yeah. Did you experience any differences across languages?
Yes, indeed. It's not, the performance is not the same across languages. We focus more on the most common ones, especially the ones coming from customers that are using the feature. Yes, it can vary, especially in low supported languages, let's say. We don't pay so much focus there. But for the main languages, we've managed to optimize our TQI and have it in great levels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Maya. And now let's invite to the next stage a slightly different innovation, which is meant to support researchers by localizing research content. Very important. Gabriela, Kouahla, welcome.
Hello everyone. My name is Gabriela Kouahla. I'm the founder of Beyond Words Linguistic Services. It's the first Algeria-based localization agency for researchers, and it's covering the entire Mediterranean region, focusing on Arabo and Francophone researchers. Next slide, please. So let's imagine your paper is not well written. It uses too many local terms that an international audience won't understand. The English is too confused. So therefore, we must reject your paper. These comments are the academic equivalent of a heartbreak for a researcher. For many researchers, especially those working in non-English speaking countries, this is a painfully familiar scenario. You spend months, maybe even years on your research, only to see it dismissed, and not because of the science or the results, but because it's how it's presented. And as we know, imagine how much incredible research never makes it because it wasn't written in a way the international community could fully understand. Next slide, please. For researchers outside of English-speaking regions, the road to publication is especially steep. And it's not just about language issue, though that's a huge part of it. It's about context. It's about making local findings. So we have it's backward from localization that we are used to. It's from local findings, make them understandable and relevant to global audience. Think about local abbreviation, cultural references, nuanced terminologies that make perfect sense in one country, but are completely lost on an international reviewer. And in most peer review processes, these reviewers don't even know the name or the origin of the author. So there's no context, no benefit of the doubt. In these cases, clarity isn't just helpful, it's crucial to understand the results. Because when something isn't clear, it gets rejected. So not for lack of merit, but for lack of understanding. Next slide, please. So my proposition, it's a localized solution. And now, not only in terms like a simple linguistic service, but a localized publication solution that has been used since 2018 for Arabo and Francophone Mediterranean researchers. It's a full support system for researchers from the first draft of the paper to final acceptance, using all the tools that we have available, using AI, using technology, and includes several steps like a language service tailored to each researcher. It's from Algeria, Tunisia, France, Spain, Italy, different mindset, different language, rewriting to avoid plagiarism while preserving originality. Let's say they have an original result, but they don't know how to express it. Guidance to make their local content international, global relevance, and also inclusive language that it's required in the scientific community, international community. And here's the difference from other proposals on the market that I didn't find. Follow-up. So the follow-up step, most linguistic services stop at submission. They proofread, they translate your paper, and you submit. Stop. This solution continues. When the editor reviewer feedback or revision request, the solution is still there. They help the researchers, and when the researchers are supported, more high-quality papers get accepted, and the world hears voices that otherwise will go unnoticed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriela. I didn't want to stop you in full flow there. Really interesting to see this at the PIC. Thank you for submitting it. It's certainly different from what we see.
Sorry if it's the first time for me. So.
Yeah, well, good job. Quick question, Dragons? Short one.
You say that the solution is live today. How wide is the usage and how many languages are supported?
For now, all the languages in the Mediterranean region, Arabic, English, Italian, Spanish, everything. We have a researcher. If they choose to write in their native language, we help translate the paper. If he or she or they decide to write in English, we help improve the English of the paper. So it's a solution based for each researcher. It's
is it an automated solution or is it
it's
that
for,
they can consume?
For now, the only automatic part of the solution are the tools used for revision, plagiarism, creating cover letters, replies, etc. But the first step, it's 100% human because we have to assess the need of the researcher with his local needs to govern international audience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very important work you are doing there. Thank you. And now let me call to the stage Marcus from Lionbridge to present end-to-end AI solution for efficient localization. Marcus.
Cool. Thank you. I'm Marcus. I know many of you. I'm the CTO of Lionbridge. So we can go on to the first slide. So yeah, traditionally there's been a gulf, right? A gap between domestic content source, but for a company or an enterprise's domestic audience, and then localization. And there's been an entire different life cycle, process, budgetary mechanism, ownership, etc. for those two things. We've long talked, really since I've been in the industry, about, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we combined source content creation with localization, but the drivers weren't there. Not the economic drivers, not the process drivers, and perhaps most germanely, not the technology drivers. Now we think they are. And we think that the LLM moment is that opportunity to do so. At the end of the day, the end user doesn't care, right? They don't care whether content was created in their language, whether it was translated, whether it was transcreated, or all this other constructs that we've put around it. What they care about is this content relevant to me? Is it helping me accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish with the content? Content has a job to do. We think LLMs structured around a very language-aware process is the way to do it. If we go to the next slide. So what does this mean, right? What does this mean is, well, that's interesting. Something horrible happened to that slide.
Formatting issue, yeah. It's incompatibility of format. Sorry for that, Marcus.
No worries. So at the end of the day, it's about automatic content ingestion and industrial class orchestration, as well as wrapping the LLM around a sophisticated engagement model, where we're calling the sort of context of it, right? Which means everything from multi-step prompting. Everyone's like, oh, do you know how to write prompts? Sure, but none of us write one prompt, right? It's an iterative series of prompt flows, plus modeling or tuning the engine itself, sometimes using fine-tuning, sometimes with RAG patterns in terms of getting the outcome that you want, so that you can ingest input, for example, from a PIM system. So you're ingesting metadata, attributes, images, glossaries. The other great thing about Omni models is you can consume image and non-text-based content. Assembling that into content in multiple languages, in English is simply another language in this context, and then finally delivering it back to the customer. So if we go to the last slide, what's the benefit here? What do you get? You get much faster cycle times on literal order of magnitudes, right? Things that took weeks between different approval flows, et cetera, now take days. You get cost reductions that really you can slide that scale depending on how comfortable you are with the level of predictability. So anywhere from 30% cost reduction on the low end to 80 to 90% on the high end. And finally, you maintain your quality and the suitability of the content to the output. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marcus. Good to see you. And sorry about the gremlins there. We'll try and get that slide to the dragons in the correct form. So
technology,
they will have that.
It happens.
Yeah, we always welcome gremlins at the pick. Fortunately, we had a little one there. So we'll get that slide to the dragons in the correct form so they can see it in their deliberation. We gave you a few extra seconds just to allow for that. Questions? Quick one for Marcus. Dragons.
Is this already in place? Are you using that?
Yeah. So that's the other great thing about it. We're doing this at scale right now. We are processing, at this point, hundreds of millions of words through this process, including for global consumer companies, tech, and other use cases. So this is in place. It's certainly not, the only thing that we have. It's not the dominant model that we're offering, but yeah, this is in place at scale. And a scale wrapper around engaging with the LLM around prioritizing and queuing as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcus. I'm sending your slide to the chat without the gremlins. That's what Dave says. I need to Google what a gremlin is, by the way. So the distorted word was actually Lionbridge. Anyways, let me call to the stage our next speaker, Dan Bottomley from voxANN, who's gonna present to us our localization platform, which uses very sophisticated tagging.
Hi guys, this is my first rodeo with this kind of thing, so be kind. I'm Dan Bottomley, co-founder of voxANN. We're a new Manchester-based startup entering the LangText space, building a localization platform for language service providers. Today, I'll introduce one of our R&D projects, which is MLT or XLM. These are tools designed to give users enhanced control of AI voices and translation solutions. So next slide, please. So AI solutions for translation and voice gen are really fast, but speed alone is not enough. Quality really matters, especially when capturing the subtleties of human expression. So we've asked, how do we enable precise creative control, such as pacing, emotional scale, cultural context, colloquialisms, idiom, sarcasm, humor? We've also asked, how can we capture these creative controls and flow them between languages, ensuring there's consistency? And crucially, how do we build strong, intelligent, human-verified data connections between those languages to continuously improve project results, but also AI models? Next slide, please. So MLT, or multi-layer tagging, empowers users to apply annotations or tags related to context, can be production information, performance directives directly into a source script. XLM then cascades those annotations to other translated versions. This is across text and audio. Depending on users' workflows, these tags that are applied through XLM are then ready to be reviewed, amended, and approved by a user. So the result is unprecedented control. So you can tag any chunk. This could be a portion of text, a word, a phrase, section, could be the entire script. Many of the projects maybe a project requires a specific brand for a global ad campaign. It might be precision timing for a word to sync with something on screen. Maybe the perfect pronunciation of technical jargon or a fictional character or name. So these tags relate to many layers and categories, syncing with on-screen events, phonetic tone, pace, emotion, pronunciation, simply assigning a speaker's voice. So users input these controls once to a source language, and then they're reapplied across to other languages. So next slide, please. So what does this mean? We have precision with AI voices and translations. We can control how AI-generated voices sound, preserving some of that emotional depth, performance quality, and have the consistency between languages. There's efficient workflows and capturing valuable data, automating mapping between languages, which can drastically cut down manual reviews and generate rich, structured linguistic data. And finally, eliminating some of the repetitive tasks that localization experts, so they can focus on the more high-value creative work, speeding up production, and enabling richer content. Thanks.
Well done, Dan. Yeah, for first time, well done, man. That was very interesting. Dragons, do you have a question for Dan? They're stunned into silence.
Wow.
No, it's more that I have. Where do you see yourself in the content generation flow?
So this MLT and XLM, it fits in within a wider production system that we're developing. This should be at the point of maybe having an original piece of content and someone's listening to that. Some of these tags will be applied automatically with AI, but someone would listen to it and say, this is angry, this is a joke, this is, and they would go through the script and apply those tags at that point for consistency. It may even happen at the point of when a script has been generated and they want to start applying that creative input before any voice has been generated. It's important to note as well, some of these annotations, I talk about translation and AI, it can also be used for humans as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Super exciting. And we got to move on to the last contestant for this round's preliminaries. And this is Spence Green from Lilt, who's going to present the Lilt contextual AI engine. Do we have Spence? I couldn't see the Spence among the speakers, but let's wait. No? Well, looks like we're gonna finish exactly on time because we don't have Spence. He
Well,
knew,
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll give Spence just a quick minute as we wrap up this session, and Dragons, we'll come back to you on what that means. But I've got to ask the audience, can anyone explain what a gremlin is to Marina, please?
Yes, please. I
It would
didn't
be
do my
very
homework.
1984 film. Come on, sure someone knows.
It's a
Don't
classic.
feed them after tonight.
Yeah, just they shouldn't get water on them for sure. That's what I remember.
No feeding,
wet.
no feeding after midnight, and don't get them wet. They wreak chaos and havoc.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm wiser. So much one learns during the pick.
That's what we're here for. And I think I feel I should apologize to Real Madrid fans. So let me do that. I'm sorry that you're second in the table. There you go. So I'm sure I'll get some notes about that one. Really well done, innovators. That's the second, as Marina said, of our preliminary round sessions. The Dragons will cast their votes, and we will have those results mid next week. So well done. I'm just going to show you what this is all about. No, yes, I do have a slide.
You do.
Or, if it didn't crash, I would have had a slide. Okay.
That's another gremlin.
There you go. You're getting the
We've
gist
met
of
him,
it.
yeah.
So finalists will get a chance to pitch live in Malmö. I'm probably not even close this time, in June at LocWorld's. So Marina, any final thoughts from today's session?
I'm gonna teach you how to say Malmö. That's good thing next one is in Monterey. There you won't have any troubles. Yeah, but no, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much. Really interesting innovations, and I really like the coverage of the topics. A lot of AI, of course, but that's the things nowadays. And I look forward to seeing the finalists in Malmö. Thank you.
Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks to the Dragons, and good luck in their deliberations. Have a great day, everybody.